첫째 쭈쭈는 아프고 둘째 쭈쭈는 병을 봐주네.
Hello everyone, here is Tassel. In this video I will show you one of the ways how we can build free-to-play HuTao. Don't expect to see here some showcases of builds where you will use party with like Benneth, Sucrose or Mona, where HuTao will one-shot all bosses with like 500k damage. I will let this task to another YouTubers with "Look, HuTao's free-to-play inside damage" on their video title. They are doing already a great job with it. I was playing with HuTao almost 2 weeks long for now. I tested different weapons, different artifacts and tried different characters in the party. You can watch on some of those tests in my previous videos. After all of those tests I can explain now to which results did I come. As first, let's talk about weapons and artifacts. Important, those two things are related to each other. It depends on your weapon which sense and head artifacts you will need to choose, but I will explain it a little bit later. Let's start with weapons that I will not recommend to use. Let's start with white Tassel. There are two reasons why it isn't good weapon. First one is weapons bonus that seems to be good. In practice you will use mostly only charge attack and elemental burst. That's why normal attack bonus is pretty useless for us. The second reason is base attack stats. The problem is HuTao's skill Guide to Afterlife that we use to get big damage bonus and that gives us pyro effect to our attacks. This attack bonus scales from our HP, but this bonus can't get higher than 400% of our base attack. It means the higher the base attack, the greater will be the attack bonus limitation. Since White Tassel is 3-star weapon, it has low base attack, what means we can get as much bonus damage that we could get with any 4-star weapons. Second not recommended to use weapon is Lythic Spear. The reason is simple, you are getting attack bonus from it that scales from your base attack. HuTao's base attack is something around 600, really low. And now you can just calculate what you will get from this weapon at the end. Something around 50-60% attack bonus. It means 60% of 600 base attack that HuTao has. So it means only around 350 attack bonus that you will get if you level up your weapon to 90 level. This is nothing. Now let's talk about good combinations of weapons and artifacts. The first good combination is Dragon's Bane weapon, HP sense and crit rate head artifacts. Later I will show you gameplay for HuTao with reactions. It means we will need some elemental mastery for it. And Dragon's Bane gives enough EM for our task. It gives also some bonus damage against monsters under Hydro effect, what is very effective if you are playing with Xingqiu in the party. After we got enough elemental mastery, now it's time to get more damage. We will do it with HP artifacts. Science Guide to Afterlife gives attack bonus that scales from her HP. Now let's talk about the biggest problem that we have with Dragon's Bane. It doesn't give us either crit damage nor crit rate. That's why if you wanna use Dragon's Bane at full power, you will have to farm artifacts for a very long time to get good crit rate and crit damage for all 5 artifacts in the substats. Otherwise you will make barely crit hits or your crit damage will be pretty low. But we still can get some crit from head artifact. I would propose you to use head artifact with crit rate, just because in my opinion it's easier to get more crit damage in substats than crit rate. Second, Even better combination that I'm using now every day is Blackcliff pole weapon, elemental mastery sense and crit rate head artifacts. We will get 50% more crit damage with this combination than with Dragon's Bane. But we have to compensate our elemental mastery. That's why we choose elemental mastery sense artifact instead of HP. In my previous videos, I compared damage of HP sense and elemental mastery sense artifacts in combination with Blackcliff, and elemental mastery combination gives more damage. The only one but big disadvantage of this weapon is his weapon bonus that gives you some attack bonus after you killed one or more enemies. In other words, this bonus is useless against bosses. You can use also Deathmatch from Battle Pass instead of Blackcliff pole. This is even better weapon because you will get crit rate with it. After that you can switch your artifact head from crit rate to crit damage. It means at the end you will have same crit rate but around 10% more crit damage. Also, Deathmatch has some more useful weapon bonus. Now let's talk about artifact sets. Actually, it is not really hard to find out which set is the best one if we are talking about reactions. But let's start with Lavawalker set that I will definitely not recommend to use. As first, the 2-piece set bonus is just completely useless for us. 4-piece bonus might look useful, but without reactions you will lose a lot of potential damage. Also, don't forget that a lot of monsters will not let you to set pyro on them, what makes this artifact set useless in a lot of situations. That's why we will use Crimson Witch of Flames. It provides us 15% of pyro damage and gives 15% bonus damage to vaporize and melt reactions. Now about the main stats for this artifact set. On Circlet you will need crit damage or crit rate, depends on your weapon as I explained earlier. For Blackcliff I'm using crit rate. For Goblet we will use pyro damage. For Sense artifact you can choose again what you will use. You have to choose between Elemental Mastery and HP Sense artifact. In most cases Elemental Mastery Sense is better choice. In substats, you will have to get as much HP as possible for her Guide to Afterlife skill. After that, try to get some crit rate and crit damage. And if you get also some Elemental Mastery, this is good additional bonus. Instead of going full Crimson Witch, you also can try to make combination of 2-piece Crimson Witch and 2-piece Noblesse. With it you will lose a little bit on damage with reactions, but for it you will get additional 20% of elemental burst damage. Let's talk about priorities in talents. As first, get all talents to level 6. Then you have to level up your Guide to Afterlife skill high as possible because you will use this skill with HuTao all the time. Without the skill, HuTao is useless. After that, in my opinion, try to get level 8 on normal attack talent because you will attack with those normal and charge attack while using Guide to Afterlife. And then, at the end, give the rest to your elemental burst. Now let's talk about party for HuTao. The first character that you have always to use is Xingqiu. Reason for it is his elemental burst that creates a lot of swords that will set Hydra effect on monsters every time when HuTao will hit them. It means that almost every hit will make additional reaction damage. Second important character for our reactions gameplay is Kaeya. He can set cry effect on monsters as often as Xingqiu doing it. Alone he is not much useful, but together with Xingqiu and HuTao they are creating just overpowered combination. We can just spam elemental burst with those two guys that will cause permanent freeze, and in this time HuTao can destroy monster and bosses with her elemental damage while they can't even move. Who will be the fourth character in the party? It's up to you. Depends on which characters do you have. If you need some additional shield, take Zhongli or Noelle. If you want some debuff or elemental mastery buffs, you can choose Sucrose. You can also try to play with Benneth or Mona for some additional elemental burst damage. As for me, I am using mostly two characters, Zhongli for overpowered shield in hard dungeons or Diona for everything else. Especially Diona is good offer for free-to-play party. With two cryo characters in the party you will get additional 15% of crit rate against monsters that have cryo effect on them. Also Diona provides some small but useful shield. And if the HP of HuTao will get too low, you can also use Diona's heal. Now my advice which artifacts you should give to Kaeya and Xingqiu. Give Kaeya instructor sets that will give HuTao additional 120 elemental mastery. Here you have to focus only on energy recharge sense artifact. Level it up to level 20, another artifact can stay on level 1. We just wanna spam his elemental burst as often as possible. Xingqiu needs Noblesse artifact set. It will give 20% of additional damage for HuTao after he will use his elemental burst. He is the same advice as for Kaeya. Level up energy recharge sense so that he can use often his elemental burst. If you want his Hydro swords to deal more damage, you can level up his goblet artifact with Hydro damage too. Also very important thing about weapon for Xingqiu. Give him sword that provides additional energy recharge like sacrificial sword. For Kaeya, it doesn't matter which weapon does he has. Now I will show you my build that I'm using every day. As you can see, I have balanced build here for reactions gameplay, where I have good amount of elemental mastery, 50% of crit rate and almost 190% of crit damage. As for weapon, I am using Blackcliff pole that grants additional 55% of crit damage. Since I am playing only through reactions, I am using Crimson Witch. I have elemental mastery in Sands, pyro damage on Goblet and crit rate on Circlet. In substats I am focusing on HP in first place since we need it for guide to afterlife skill. After that I try to get as much crit damage and crit rate as possible. As for talents, on the beginning I tried to reach max level on Guide to Afterlife, because with every level we will get more bonus damage while using this skill. After that I increased a little bit normal attack, so that my charge attacks can deal more damage. When I will get more boss materials for talents, I will level up my elemental burst. Now I will show you HuTao's reactions gameplay in different dungeons, spiral abyss and just against different bosses. Thank you in advance for watching. If you have some questions or you wanna discuss some of my decisions, write it in the comments below. Also, since it is my first big video, I will be glad to hear what part of videos could I make better and so on.